Split Fiction oozes personality from the very beginning. Finally, we can face our deep-seated fear of the dentist, challenge a monkey to a dance-off, stop a sun from exploding, and learn where hot dogs come from, all in a single game. We both just had the exact same reaction.
Ooh, no!
Quick thanks to EA for providing us the game code.
We have dedicated our entire channel to finding the best co-op games. Our very first year of YouTube, It Takes Two was released, and since then we've been constantly seeking that next great co-op game. And it's finally here, unsurprisingly from the same studio that brought us It Takes Two.
From flying cars and gravity bikes to sand sharks and snowboarding, this is the ultimate co-op adventure you have been waiting for.
At its heart, Split Fiction is a 3D platformer. You have a few basic actions that stay consistent throughout the game: run, jump, double jump, and dash. The base platforming mechanics are superb and persist through almost every unique twist the game throws at you. Playing top-down, jump, jump, dash. 2D side-scrolling, jump, jump, dash. Playing as a superhero pig, jump, fart, rainbows, land. I guess you can't win them all. But don't forget there's also a grappling hook to extend your flight through the air so you can feel a little bit like Spider-Man as you go swinging from one giant foot to the next.
Wait, did she just say giant? Yeah, we should probably talk about the setting here. Authors Zoe and Mio are both hoping to seal a publishing deal with Raider Publishing, who have developed a machine to put them into a simulation of their own stories. When Mio gets nervous and decides she cannot go through with it, she ends up accidentally inside Zoe's bubble, and then the real story commences.
The two authors' conflicting genres clash, bringing you into Zoe's fantasy worlds and Mio's sci-fi cyberpunk stories. Upon discovering that the machine they are in is designed to steal their stories and ideas, Mio and Zoe decide to break out by pursuing a glitch that takes them back and forth through their parallel world. Though they don't get along at first, these two worlds require collaboration.
Collaboration!
So they will need to learn to trust each other along the way.
The game is divided into chapters, and each chapter is set up with its own unique abilities and skills. So you don't keep the same abilities for long. It's a short period of time, around 2 hours each. This helps to make sure that they don't outstay their welcome. For that reason, it can be hard to say what genre this game falls into, because it is inspired by so many different games, from shooters and puzzle games to stealth action and platformers.
The constant introduction of new engaging abilities is what makes this game truly shine. You get to play with dragons as they grow in size and gain new abilities. One could spit acid that melted metal, while the other could powerfully roll through objects to break them. You may find yourself playing as cyber ninjas, one with a whip to grab and fling objects, while the other player can swap gravity for themselves, creating some unique ways to solve puzzles, and also quite a trippy experience.
Or you might gain the ability to shapeshift into 2 different magical creatures each, like a strong ape and an axolotl mermaid thingy. While player 2 can shift between Groot and a tiny flying fairy. Each form has its own abilities that you would need to use to progress through the level. But perhaps you might enjoy the level where you both have an autonomous ball that can become your exosuit and give you the abilities to hack into digital devices or explode a giant gravity bubble.
The end of the game does some beautiful things with these two worlds colliding. We don't want to spoil anything for you, but it is definitely worth making it to the end of the game. Let's just say that it is wild and one of my favorite parts of the game, although it's a little trippy. These main stories do some fantastic things, but so far we've left out a very important piece of the game.
In addition to the main sci-fi and fantasy stories you play through, the game will also introduce unique side stories. These are anomalies caused by Mio and Zoe being trapped in the same simulation. Each side story throws you into a chaotic adventure shaped by their past stories and forgotten ideas. There are 12 side stories in total, and they are each marked by a big glowing sphere, and the majority of them also have an audio cue from your main characters to let you know there's a side story around you somewhere.
These 12 stories have a variety of features, some introducing new mechanics, such as playing as superpowered pigs, one with a slinky neck that lets you reach high places, and another that farts rainbows like a jet engine.
You're a slinky pig.
While others simply bring you into a whole new world, like climbing a mountain with the help of giants.
These were a huge highlight of the game. They brought a refreshing taste as you played through the levels and helped to keep things interesting continually. While I originally thought of them as side quests, they are actually mini stories, not just fetch quests. They are all fun adventures to go on, and while they are entirely optional, I don't see why you would ever choose to leave one behind.
Sadly, the last few chapters stopped doing side stories. While the lack of side quests made sense from a story perspective, I still felt like they could have found some ways to sneak in a few more wacky adventures into the last few chapters. Things felt a little longer and got a tad bit tiring because we no longer had these wild scenarios to break up the story and gameplay elements.
With the different mix of mechanics, this game is basically like a bunch of indie games smashed together with a cohesive story to hold it all together, and it is fantastically done. I would happily play any of the segments of this game as its own shorter game. We have played a ton of couch co-op games over the years, and every gameplay element in Split Fiction works fantastically.
It was fun to see different game mechanics that we've seen in other games and how they were implemented here. Whether it is similarities to past Hazelight games like the Giants found in Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, the centipede that reminded us of Fogs, or a literal pinball-inspired segment of the story. While not all of the game mechanics are entirely revolutionary, their implementation is exquisite, and the mechanics are very intuitive.
The boss fights were great. They were often charming with a little bit of humor mixed in there. It's hammer time! We especially liked the few that you could find in some side stories. It's not just about spamming buttons to kill them, you had to use your special abilities to win, and they were complex enough that we had to pay attention. There was dodging, staying alive, fighting, and multiple phases to go through. Often they would have breaks with platforming sections where you had to run away from something that's trying to kill you.
The fact that this game was designed from the very beginning with co-op in mind and is only playable in co-op makes everything work so well. Other games will struggle to keep both characters on screen or provide enough things to keep both characters occupied.
But with Split Fiction, there are constantly things that you will need to do together. The game would frequently block your progress with something that both of you would need to interact with so that you couldn't continue without your partner. But there would also be moments where you would actually have to work together, one guiding the other, or one controlling platforms for them to move to, or synchronizing your movements so that you can both make it across together. But it also gave you plenty of time to do things on your own, like platforming. It is the perfect mesh of playing games together.
You are almost always given unique complementary abilities so that each of you has your own things to interact with. Blue super soldier shoots blue targets, red super soldier shoots red targets. And you need to blow up the red shield in front of the blue target quickly so your partner can shoot the target and open the door before you smash into it. That type of stuff is littered throughout the game.
The whole game is filled with frequent save points to keep you from constantly having to rework your way through things that you've already done just because you slipped and fell. It is very forgiving with infinite lives and only a couple of seconds before you can come back to life. It even gives you a button to mash to come back faster. Seriously, this game is trying to keep you occupied around every corner. That was the worst snap I've ever done.
Dying also does not reset your progress, which is great for me because I struggle with that. You'll often respawn next to your co-op partner or a short amount of time before you die. The game is not especially difficult, but if you are struggling, there are multiple accessibility options to help struggling players. You can reduce enemy damage to make things a little easier, or skip to the next checkpoint if you just cannot beat a specific part of the game.
Hazelight is known for weaving heartfelt narratives into their co-op experiences, and Split Fiction is no exception. The story was interesting. I really enjoyed listening to it and predicting what might happen next. It's all about Zoe and Mio coming together as they try to escape. It dives into the deeper meaning of some of their stories and explores the relation to personal traumas in their history. While it was a little predictable, I still think the story was enjoyable.
Thankfully, there was nothing as traumatizing as ripping the elephant's leg off in It Takes Two, but there were still some shocking moments that made us gasp or scream here and there. Did I just kill someone with that? It's one of the things that Hazelight does well in their storytelling.
The game is absolutely gorgeous with fantastic vistas to overlook, a real gritty feel, and a happy fantasy vibe.
The art style and audio are a fantastic part of the story and experience.
I felt like it was missing some of the interactable life and hidden things like the minigames that It Takes Two had. Or at least they were hidden well enough that we didn't really come across very many. It felt like there wasn't as much stuff put into the game just to play around with, but on the other side of things, the side stories here were far more enjoyable than the little hidden mini games that It Takes Two had. But this is its own game separate from It Takes Two, and comparing them doesn't really do this justice.
When it comes to replayability, you have the opportunity to play the entire game again as the other character, which is a totally different experience. Or you can show the game off to new friends, because it's just that good. It took us around 14 hours to complete all the chapters and side stories. However, we did not get close to finishing all of the trophies. And there's a free Friends Pass, so you can play online with crossplay and only one person has to purchase the game.
The magical thing about this game is the constant stream of new things it has to keep you entertained. Whether it's new abilities, new visual styles, or new side stories, it does its very best to make sure there is never a dull moment.
It is an adventure that is absolutely worth taking. This is a game that I would recommend to anyone that has someone that they can play with. We don't normally rate our games on a scale, but if there was ever a co-op game that deserved to be called a 10 out of 10, it is this one.
That being said, there are a ton of other great couch co-op games, and this playlist right here will show you some of our absolute favorites, ones that you're not gonna want to miss, so we cannot wait to see you over there. We love you guys.
Y'all are awesome.